Conversations from the Cave is a raw self-help podcast dedicated to discussing men's issues. From pornography to parenting, from religion to real life, from learning to loving. We discuss the real issues that affect real men every day. Join us each week for powerful, revealing Conversations from the Cave. Now your host, Kurt Kennedy.
This is Conversations from the Cave. I'm your host, Kurt Kennedy. It's a pleasure having our panelists again. To my right, we have Mustang. Mustang, can you let us know you're here?
Hey, this is Mustang. Excited for another week of Conversations with the Cave.
And right in the middle, we have Brian, B.A. Can you chime in for us?
Hello, this is Brian here out of Huntsville, RBA, and I'm ready to change lives one word at a time.
And finally, we have Nola, who's also in studio with us tonight. Nola?
This is Nola73. Meet you where you at.
Gentlemen, tonight's topic is one that actually, it's a unique topic because it deals with something I think every man struggles with. We tend to, any straight man likes a beautiful woman, and sometimes beauty is perceived as being an attribute of younger women. And we all know about midlife crises. We all know about different types of problems that occur when older men and younger women get together. But I want to specifically talk about something that actually occurred this week. I have a musician friend, and she is a young 20-something-year-old young lady. And online, an older gentleman in his 40s, late 40s, was interested in her and chose to express his interest and was quite frustrated that she didn't return his affection, and so much so that he actually got belligerent online. The interesting thing was, she said, "You're like really, really, really old," and he rebuffed and said, he had his stuff together and young men don't. So he was in a much better position to take good care of her because he was older and so on and so forth. But he failed to do one simple thing, which was to check her age. He never bothered to look to see how old this woman was that he was pursuing. And when he recognized that she was barely 21, I mean, I think probably was like a month into 21, he was appalled that, this lady that looked older wasn't as old as he thought. Here's the thinking. So the first thing that came across my mind was, how in the world can you pursue somebody without taking the time to get some background information? That's number one. Number two is, what would give a man cause to pursue someone without taking any time to see whether or not they wish to be pursued or interested? And then lastly, is the role of lust the cause of this behavior or a lack of training? And how do we help men make wiser choices? I'm going to open it up to the panel across the board. Anybody can chime in any order.
I wanted to, if you don't mind, get some clarification.
Sure, absolutely.
And
sure.
that might help the other guys too with their responses. How was he pursuing her?
He was he was very verbal online about his interest in her. He expressed how he appreciated her physical attributes and qualities, and he was very public with that on her social media page.
Okay, so he was pursuing her over social media and saying, "Hey, you're a pretty lady, you're an attractive lady," in so many words. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And things like that. So,
right, yeah.
and I guess my question is, was he trying to court her, like, "Hey, let's go get something to eat, see where this takes us," or it was like, "Hey, because you look nice, more than likely he was gearing towards sex," is my question, I guess.
It's hard to know his intention because
Okay.
I didn't pick up the conversation when it initially started. I only saw the end of it because she actually, I was actually tagged in one of the comments. So it was kind
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
great. You're like, what?
What in the world? Yeah. And to be honest, okay, can I just, first of all, I need to say something. I was appalled. The only thing I could think of was, oh my gosh, this guy is creepy. My first thought was, wow, this guy is he's creepy and nasty. That was the first thing that came to my mind. But then the second thing was, this man is suffering with a problem. And the thing is, he had what I feel just this is only my opinion, and then you guys can offer another vantage point or viewpoint. But what it came down to was, wow, this guy. He was so bent on what she looked like that he didn't even bother to see whether or not she was legal. I mean, this guy could have been locked up for what he was doing if that girl had been under 18, which she very well could have been.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to know was around that was how is it, you speak very eloquently, I believe, about the situation, but I think you're speaking in more of a courting manner about this, the way this man's talking, and I think it was more like a bar room, like,
yeah, hey, I mean, he was pretty icky. I mean, he was okay. He was a pretty disgusting dude. I mean, let's just be real.
It was okay.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, it was definitely no question. It was lust. It's hard for me to say. Now that's going to be really, really weird. But as a younger guy, I was always attracted to older women, actually. And I never could understand. I was joking around with my wife one time. I was like, man, you're lucky that you're not like 40 or something, or you got in good because you're the only 20-year-old. But I used to think that, women that when I was like 19 and 20, like women that were 35 and 40 were just so attractive. And, I don't know, they were very womanly. They were the epitome of
yeah, because they had grown to a level of maturity and balance.
Yeah, and it was an attractive thing, and I'm sure there are women out there like that. Do I think there are many? No, I don't. But I'm sure they're out there.
You just got like 50% of our audience.
Yeah, right. And they're gone.
They're gone.
They're gone. So, but all
ladies,
that to
say, these opinions are not necessarily shared by
the opinions of all. Yeah. So all that to say, I feel like the biggest thing, and just being honest, obviously, guys, we are Christians, us that are here, and I'm going to go ahead and speak to the Christians on this one, and then the non-Christian. For those who do believe in Christ, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a quick thing, like Christ teaches in the Bible? Is that what he talks about? Or does he talk about leaving your father and mother and cleaving to your spouse? And that's what you're looking for is that someone that you can cleave to day, night. You're the same person that is going to get up and help you take care of their car. You're going to get up and help them take care of their car or they're broke down or whatever the case is, if they're heading to Huntsville and break down somehow, are you going to help them out? Are you going to help them out? But long story short, the person that's going to be with you through thick and thin, of course, sex is going to be there and it's going to be great for that first, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months. And then all of a sudden, guess what? It's sex with the same person over and over and over again. And that person's going to get older and older and older. And, and eventually, I'm not going to mention any particular person, but one particular person who is in a high amount of status here in America said that they don't like to be with anybody over 40 and they're 70. So, that being said, you know what I mean? You're going to have to continuously search for someone. So anyway, you're never going to be satisfied, in my opinion. And plus, just follow the Bible, read the Bible, search for him as if you were looking for silver or gold. You'll get your answer. You don't have to worry about me. Don't talk to us. You got all the answers. For secular people, morals. What's right and what's wrong. You know what I mean? You know what's right and you know what's wrong. Do I think that a guy could, older girl and guy, or older guy, younger girl, vice versa, could possibly work out at some point? Possibly, but you kind of know in your heart of hearts what's right and what's wrong. Morals wise. So anyway.
So let me make sure that I'm understanding you, because I want to make sure that the folks who are listening are kind of getting the whole picture. You're not necessarily suggesting that just because an older guy is interested in a younger woman that is a sin, are you? Or because obviously there are many biblical characters who picked out younger wives. I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with picking out somebody younger or older or whatever. That's not what you're saying. What you are saying is the motivation, if I'm hearing you correctly, that the motivation behind what you do and the nature of the relationship you'd like to secure are far more important even than age. But you're really talking about the motivation. So if there's a guy out there looking for a quick hit and a quick selfish satisfaction, and there's a sweet young lady that he thinks would fulfill that particular lustful desire, then he'll pursue her till he receives or gets what he wants. Whereas if you're looking at it from a more moral basis, a more whole relationship standpoint, you're suggesting that a man should pursue a woman to have something more solid and more deep in terms of that relationship, because as time goes on, it's those solid things that help to maintain a relationship after the initial excitement of intercourse fades, which you feel, could happen at any time during that relationship. So the quality of that relationship may extend as a result of those other values. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Or
yeah, definitely. The 2 points I do want to bring up for what you said. Yeah, the people at the time, even though they had younger wives, and they did pick up much younger wives at the time, I do believe at least most of them, or a decent amount of them, they were doing it because that was the culture at the time. They also practiced polygamy, which we do not practice now. We don't swing that way. It's one man, one woman. So, the same thing, that was the culture at the time. I don't want anybody to think, oh, well, that's okay. That was how it was then. They also did stoning. We don't do that now. So please don't do that. But long story, yes, like you said, the motivation behind it. And also it's kind of the same thing, like the new car effect, I buy a new car because I want a new car. Well, guess what? That new car will get older. In 2018, you buy one in 2017, 2018, it's going to be a year old. In 2015, it's going to, you know what I mean?
Sure,
and
absolutely.
You're always going to be wanting a new car, a new car, a new car. You're never satisfied. Where if you say, you know what, this is the one I want, period. And I'm going to be with this car till it dies because it's a good, reliable car. I'm going to take care of it and do everything I can to it.
Sure.
And it's going to treat you well too.
So let me ask you this: before we move on to part 2 of that Q&A, I just want to make sure I'm clear. So you do not feel that age disparity, or you do feel that an age disparity is not appropriate at this point in time? Because I just want to clarify. There seems to be
this is hard because I feel like sometimes I'm giving people a license. If I say, "Oh no, it's no big deal," then it's almost like, okay, well, the guy on Conversation from the Cave said it, so I'm looking for the youngest, hottest thing. Look, you know what? I tell you what, if you're a Christian, you pray about it and you consult your Bible and your heart after consult God, and then, and then get the answer there. Well, and if you're not a Christian, morals, go ahead.
Sure. Okay. So let me just say something. And then, this is not written anywhere. And I know we've got to be careful about, because now obviously people are listening to what we're saying. They're drawing conclusions. Some of them may be making decisions. I don't know. Okay. So first of all, I think the reason why I was appalled wasn't just because of the age disparity. I think what I was appalled by was that the guy didn't consider her age. That, I think, appalled me. It was the notion that he would pursue somebody to the point of being public with it. And then as he was on the site, she said, "You're old enough to be like, what are you, like 60? You've got like gray hair." I mean, she literally called the dude out. Ooh. I mean, she was like, "What are you, like? You're like 60. Of course I'm not going to pay you any attention. You're like 3 times my," and he says, "Well, first of all, I'm 40, blah, blah, blah." I mean, and then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, first of all, you didn't even bother to look. And then he looked in his comments. He says, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you were that young." And then I'm thinking to myself, wow, he got on a public forum discussing his intentions without even taking the time to consider that she might not even be legal. I mean, that is a scary, scary, scary thought, that this man could be that extended, that open with his desires for this lady, and then never consider the fact that she is potentially not even legal or not even interested. And he was pushing on, with his own agenda. And that, I think, is lust, because that was a selfish, I think his motivation was clearly selfish. It was not to her benefit. And I see that BA's got his hand raised. BA, did you want to chime in on that real quick? And then we'll come back. We'll circle back around.
Well, the biggest thing is, mostly for believers, everybody...
Okay, we'll come back to BA.
Okay. I'm back.
Okay.
Well, as believers, there is 2 people. Well, God created 2 people, Adam and Eve. He didn't say what age they were. And, there's been different ideas or whatever. So age, in my mind, doesn't make a difference. But as a believer, what does make the difference is, like what Mustang was saying, who the character of that person is and what the character of the other person is and how God is bringing them together, because it's about what God's doing in their lives, how they can come together. Because I do not personally believe in the one. I believe it's a forming together to become a team, to make one. But, and let me clarify, people, when I say I don't believe in the one, well, if you find the one and you think it's the one, what happens if some freak accident happens where, everything's going fine and that person ends up with, let's just make it simple, an aneurysm and passes away? Well, that was the one, right? That was the one. So that's where I clarify the point of there is no such thing in my mind as the one. For you people that, believe in evolution, it's like what Mustang was saying, or believe not what God teaches. I'm sure you've heard that there was a creation. You just got to look at and say, hey, man and woman are here on this earth. Honestly, men and women are attracted to each other. No matter whatever frame of mind a person is or is not in, attraction happens.
So
Age.
So BA,
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut across. I just want to make sure that